Hi, I'm Lynda Hafner, top producing realtor at ERA Key Realty in Central Massachusetts. Today's video is really for first-time home buyers. We're going to talk about whether or not you think you could possibly buy a home now. If you caught my last video, which I hope you did, I talked about 13 questions that first-time home buyers ask me a lot, and I answered those questions, but I had to answer them briefly because of time. So today we are going to go into the first question a little bit more detail. Can I buy a home now? So what is the answer to that question? Obviously, it's going to vary greatly depending on your particular circumstances. But I'm going to go over a couple of the things that you want to be aware of and evaluate in your situation to help you get a better idea of knowing whether or not you can do this or not. The only way to know 100% whether or not you're going to be able to buy a house right now or not is after talking to a lender with your specific details. Everyone's financial picture is a little different, and talking to a lender who knows this stuff inside out will guarantee this. But I can give you a few guidelines, give you a good general idea of what a lender is going to want. So a lender is going to look at a couple of different things to complete a full picture on you. They're going to look at your current job, obviously what your income is. They also want to make sure that you've been at that job for 2 years and you have 2 years tax history. Now, it doesn't always necessarily have to be in the exact same job, but it does have to be in a related position. In other words, if you had one position and you just changed in midstream to a completely different position and you've only been there for a year, that may not work with them. Again, it's something you have to, on an individual basis, talk with your lender about. But that just gives you an example of one of the things they look for. They look for your job history. They look for your income. They look for your credit score. Now, if you want a conventional loan, which is probably a better way to go, you would need a minimum of 620 credit score. But you could still buy a house if you don't have 620. You could go with FHA or one of the other first-time home buyer programs, and depending on the program, usually 580 for FHA, although sometimes if you want to go even a little lower than that, if you have more of a down payment, you can even go down to like 540, little bit lower. It depends. It depends on the program. There are a lot of first-time home buyer programs, and this is why I suggest talking with a lender, because they can give you all the different scenarios. Like if you have this credit score, well, you need a little bit more money on this end, to put down, but you could still do it. So there are a lot of different possibilities, and this is why I highly suggest talking with a lender. I obviously know a little bit about it because I work with buyers and lenders on a daily basis. However, I'm not a numbers girl, truth be told. So you really need to talk to them. They're the ones who know the numbers and know inside out whether or not you would qualify and be able to actually purchase a home or not. Another really big thing that lenders consider whether or not they're going to be able to give you a loan for a house and how much is your debt to income ratio. Sounds very complicated, but let me break it down for you. Okay, basically what it means is how much are you paying per month for your bills. Now that doesn't include rent. It includes, I don't think it does at least. It includes, like if say you had your car payment is $400 a month, and they don't include utilities either. It's more like credit card debt, any credit issued to you. So a car payment, credit card payments. Now they're not looking at say you owe 20 grand. They're not gonna look at the 20 grand. They're gonna look at what is your monthly payment on that 20 grand. I find a lot of buyers get confused about that. They think, oh my gosh, I got to pay down my $20,000 credit card debt. And no, you really don't. What they care about is what is your monthly payment on that credit card. They don't care about the entire number. So what they want to do is they're going to take what your monthly payments are, add all those up together, and then they're going to take the ratio of that compared to the ratio of what your income is. And what they say is 43% is what your debt up to your income ratio is allowed. And that would give you the ability to purchase a home. If it's more than that, then you want to work at trying to make some adjustments and paying some things off or getting rid of some of those monthly payments so that you can fall within the range that they find as acceptable. Down payment money is important to have some, but you'll also need to be aware that you're going to need some cash on hand. You're going to need at least $500 to $800 for the home inspection. And the home inspection money is not money you will get back, because say you put an offer in on a house and you go through the home inspection and decide, oh, the house has major issues, you and the seller aren't able to work it out, and you decide to walk away. That money is gone. That $500 to $800, whatever you spend, it's usually only $500. But if you go and you have a radon test and a water test and all these extra tests, it's going to cost up to maybe $800. So it depends on what you possibly prefer. So having at least that amount of money set aside. Now, if the deal goes through, great, perfect. That money is just for your knowledge. That home inspection is so you feel comfortable buying the home. But it is money that you need to have and have tucked away. So that, and then and the other cash that you're going to need also is at the appraisal time. So what happens is when you have the home inspection done, everything's done, it's all negotiated, you're ready to go to purchase and sale agreement within 2 weeks after the initial offer, then what you do is you have to put down a second deposit, and usually that deposit money you need quick. So you need to make sure that you have that, and that's usually in the vicinity of 3% of the purchase price. In Massachusetts, I usually get away with 3% down payment, or sometimes even a little less than that for first-time home buyers. I explain the situation to the seller, and a lot of times we get away with that. That may not be the case in other parts of the country, but in Massachusetts, where I am, it does work a lot at 3%. But again, sometimes it used to be 5%, but now the prices are so high. I think 5% is tough for a lot of people. So I think 3% is really reasonable for a first-time home buyer. So once you give that second deposit of whatever it is that you agreed to in the original contract to purchase, once you do that you need that money. Okay, once you have that, then you still need an additional like $500 or $600 up front to pay for the appraisal that they're going to do. And then from there, usually the rest of that is financed. But this gives you an idea of the money that you're going to need up front. So hopefully you can see on the board behind me what I've written. I know it's kind of glary with the light. But if you purchase at $300,000, you put down $1,000 at the initial offer when you put in an offer. Then there's, say, based on 3%, it would be $8,000 that you put down at the purchase and sale agreement. Now that makes up your down deposit, okay, pretty much, unless you go FHA, which means you'd need another 0.5% by closing. But for conventional, that's what it would be. And first-time home buyer programs, maybe even less. Like I said, check with the lender, find out if you can find any ways around this. But don't panic if that sounds like a lot of money and you don't have it. Again, gift letters. Gift letters could save you from a family member. You can possibly get a gift letter that basically they give you the money, they write a letter saying they're giving you that money and that you don't have to pay it back, even if you maybe do pay it back. That's what I did. You don't have to, but basically that is a way around it if you don't have the money, but you really, really want to buy a house, because buying a house is awesome. I loved buying my first house. I was so happy to do it, and it's so much better than throwing your money away in rent. I mean, the rent money is going nowhere. And yes, you end up paying private mortgage insurance if you only have a smaller down payment of 3 or 3.5%, but private mortgage insurance, yes, that's a waste of money, but it's not nearly as much of a waste of money, in my opinion, as paying $1,200 to $1,500 a month in rent. I mean, that goes towards nothing. The PMI, private mortgage insurance, only costs maybe, I'm not even sure, $150 to $200 a month is my estimate, would be my guess. And that money is required by the lender to guarantee them that you are showing that you're committed to making this purchase. And it also shows them that if you defaulted on their loan, on the fact that they're giving you $300,000, that there's insurance for them so that they don't lose their shirt. So it works out for them and it works out for you, because you stop paying rent and they have the guarantee that if for whatever reason you aren't able to pay, you lose your job or something, then they're backed with that so that they don't lose their shirt either. So it is a win-win if your finances are tight. So besides the deposit, it also shows what I talked about, which is the home inspection being $500 to $800, the appraisal being in $500 to $600. Then there's the one thing we haven't talked about, which is closing costs. And the reason I don't talk about these is because usually most of the buyers I work with, especially first-time home buyers, roll that into the offer price. In other words, say you buy a $300,000 home, you don't have the funds to pay for the closing costs. What you do is, instead of offering $300,000, you offer $306,000, and you ask for a closing cost credit of $6,000, which means that at the closing table, that $6,000 cash back goes to pay all your prepaids, escrows. You have to prepay your insurance. You have to pay for, it covers all the lender fees. It covers title fees. It covers the cost of the lender to do the loan for you, all the costs that are involved in that. We call them closing costs, but really it's many multiple small fees that are involved, that are all rolled into this one title called closing costs. And they can range between they can go up to 8,000 or 9,000. I've seen them go high. It depends on the cost of the house. It depends on where you live. In Massachusetts, the average is, $59.64 is the average in Massachusetts. I rounded it up to 6,000. So usually if you just put that closing cost credit, again, that's less money that you have to come up with, and that will help you realize that yes, maybe you can buy a home after all if you don't have to come up with that. So these are all things that, be aware of all these costs, figure out within yourself, can you do it? Is it worth it to you to do it? For me, it totally was. Being a homeowner is a huge privilege in my opinion. I love the freedom of being able to create what I want in my home. You can't do that when you rent a place. You can't always paint the walls the colors you want. You can't always choose the flooring that you want. You can't do any of that. Plus, it's money that is just not going into anything toward your future. So there are so many positives in buying a home and being a first-time home buyer, plus just the personal satisfaction that you will feel as a first-time home buyer. It just makes it all worth it. So these are the costs that you need to think about. Talk to a lender, find out what programs would work for you personally, and use all that information combined to make the best decision for yourself as to whether or not you can buy a home right now. So if you've done all your homework, you've figured out your financial picture, you figured out the pros and cons of, whether or not you think this would work for you, because it is a big commitment, and I want you to understand that it is a big commitment, and I want you to understand what money is involved and whether it's going to work for you. You don't want to make yourself too tight. You have to be reasonable with yourself and what you can do, and you don't want to overstress yourself. So weigh all these factors in, and then if you do want to buy and you're in Central Mass, please reach out to me. I love helping first-time home buyers. It's so exciting, that whole process of finding a new home. It's just really fun, and I love being a part of it. And if you're not in Central Mass, please feel free to reach out to me for a referral. I could definitely find someone for you that could help you, hopefully that has as much enthusiasm as me. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Please subscribe if you want to continue this journey of finding out more answers to questions for first-time home buyers. I'm going to answer a few more questions in my next videos. Have a great day.